While we sleep, the guardians of the night take to the streets, having said goodbye to those they love. Each other knowing they may never say these words again, they face the evil that we run from. They dedicate their lives to those that would hate them because they wear the badge. They wear the badge not for the glory or recognition, but for the passion to help others. This is the LEO First Podcast. We'll talk to the men and women in law enforcement, those that have retired, those that keep the prisons secure, and anyone who's impacted by law enforcement. We'll peel back the curtain, and you'll get the real stories. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Every law enforcement officer has a story to tell. Get ready to hear from the men and women who put their lives on the line every day for their communities and their country. Welcome to the LEO First Podcast. Now, here's your host, Michael Laidler.
Hey everybody, it's Michael Laidler, the host of the LEO First Podcast, and we are on another show tonight. Thank goodness that our guest that's on today is actually from the state of Texas, so we're actually in the same time zone. It's not too often that I have guests that are actually in the state of Texas. The last one you guys may remember was the Assistant Chief of Dallas PD, Ruben Ramirez, and that was the last person we had. So I'm happy to have another Texan on the show with us tonight. As you guys know, this is always unscripted, and things we talk about is definitely our opinions and things that we've gone through. So when you guys hear certain things, think about how it relates to whatever you have going on in life, because ultimately we want to make sure that you guys are learning, you guys are understanding what normal people like us go through. And I know the guest we have on tonight, just what we talked about a little bit in the green room, he is very, let's think of the word. He's raw. Let's call it raw. I like that word. I like that word. He said another word, but I'm gonna let him say what that is later on. I mean, it wasn't a bad word, nothing like that, but we all have different ways. But that's the first word that came up to my head was raw, which I love, because in law enforcement, we need to be our genuine selves, because that's who we are as people. When we try to pretend to be somebody else, it never works out. So our guest is Daryell Harmon, and he's going to give you the raw, unedited version of who he is. Daryell, tell us about you. What do you want the viewers to know about you?
Michael, hey, thank you for allowing me to come on the podcast tonight. I do appreciate it, and God bless Texas, by the way. That is the greatest state on the planet. Michael, about me, I am a father. That is my first and favorite thing that I get to be. A husband. I should probably say that first. My wife's going to kick my arse when she hears me say a father first. She's going to be like, it's us first, right? We build mom and dad, and then the children come in, and you build them up, and you set that pyramid down the road, right? Father of 4 girls.
Yes, you definitely got them.
Yeah, I got a great wife. I have a son who's 24. I got a grandson that's fixed to be 2. Man, he's awesome. So family, I like to be a family guy. That's first and foremost. I am the vice president of sales for a small little company called ASP. We make expandable batons and handcuffs and flashlights, and nobody knows who we are.
No, not one person probably. They're very confused when they hear that.
Yes, it is a phenomenal company. I have a sales team that it's a blessing that I can serve those guys and take care of them. They're amazing people. Phenomenal company to be able to work for. Been there for 12 years. And prior to that, I was a cop. I mean, this is my second grown-up job working for ASP. My first grown-up job was a cop. Neither one I should be getting paid for, right? I loved what I do. I love what I do now. I loved being a cop. It was phenomenal. I was with Dallas PD for approximately 13 years, a cop total of 16. Man, I did everything from patrol work to defensive tactics to I was a supervisor, as a sergeant when I actually left down there. I taught everything from handcuffing to, if it didn't go bang, it was mine. Ran the taser program, not ran the driving program, but was one of the top guys there, teaching a bunch of the driving stuff that's out there. Riot control. Man, I loved it. Did some time at internet crimes against children, deployment stuff. I mean, you name it. Being a cop was phenomenal. And I learned my niche in that was being an instructor. And so that's where I really grabbed a hold and has built a lot of my life is in the teaching realm.
You know, Daryell, like I tell you, I take notes and I hear certain things when people are talking, and it's like my brain is always going. I think that's all of us in law enforcement in general. And it's probably one thing that you talked about in your passage. I don't know if you want to talk about, which I think since you're raw on it, you're talking about anyways. And it's something that I've never experienced, and it's something I talked with somebody about recently, and it was nothing on the podcast, but it was something that in law enforcement in my career that I never had to deal with, and I'm happy I never had to deal with. And this, when you talked about crimes against children, you talked about that. We talk about traumatic incidents. We talk about things we see. We know the studies are out there saying that law enforcement has anywhere from 700 to 800 traumatic things they see in their life versus your average citizen that only probably sees 4 or 5. You were in a role where I can't even deal with kids. Like, I can't even deal with that side of law enforcement. Like, I know myself, but you did it for some time. So knowing, given how big your family is, the girls, your son, the grandbaby, like when you worked in this department, like how did you handle this stuff mentally? I mean, like I never fathomed, like I won't even sign up for it. So how did you do it?
Man, at first it was a challenge, right? I mean, that's what I miss. People ask, what do you miss about being a cop? I'm like, I miss outsmarting the bad guys. I miss foot chases, right? And that was a challenge, is how do you take yourself? Like what I did, it was like a decoy, right? We had 2 or 3 of us that were running special assignment. We were literally online as a 12-year-old female. Ooh. And when you would go live, and it's not like it is today. Today it's crazy, right? You got to build social media profiles. You have to have pictures. You have to have all these different things. You got to have, man, ours is pretty good because you didn't have all the social media, right? You might have had maybe a MySpace page or something. There wasn't the crazy stuff that there is now. Those guys now are super talented, and man, what they see and do is crazy. But by the time you would set it up and you go live, it was tough, because I'll tell you, I didn't even want to take a shower and look at myself in the shower, right? Because all you saw all day long, hey, can I send you a picture? And then here's some guy's wanker that he's sending it to, or he's whacking. And I'm like, dude, come on. And this is supposed to be a 12-year-old girl that they're having a conversation with for 5 minutes, you know? And I mean, my biggest deal, my most frustrating actually case that we worked, this guy was in Georgia, and he had started working, and I was working and working and working. And I'd built this case up for weeks, and your notes have to be meticulous and all your track and everything. I built this case for weeks on this cat. And then he was going to make a travel. So I went to my sergeant. I'm like, hey, we have to make an arrest. And he's like, but we can't do it until he shows up with our decoy. And he actually shows up. And he made a request. He's like, can you send me a pair of panties? Can you send me some of your hair? So like we like scraped the cat and sent like cat hair to him, and bought like a pair of panties and ran them through like the mud and like sent them to him, right? And this guy just went nuts over this. Well, he was talking to a federal agent out of Ohio, and he was talking to one other police officer somewhere, I can't remember the state, but I was his 7th or 8th stop. So there were 4 live victims that this guy was going to see before he got to me, before we could make an arrest. And I was like, hey, sorry, we gotta stop this now. Well, we can't do that. We don't have the ability. He's another state. And I was pissed. I mean, you're going to allow me to have 4 childhood victims of sexual assault from this guy? And I was hot. So I got in trouble because I went around the sergeant and I spoke to the guys in Georgia, said, hey, here's what I got going on. Can we kick a door? And they were like, hold on. We just had a new law passed. And they went through their laws. And I had him online when they kicked in the door, when it went blank. It was awesome. And that was a case of following orders versus following code, right? I had to follow my own code. I'm my own person. I had to follow my own code of what was right in the world. If those were my daughters, I wouldn't have been right with myself, right? And shortly after that, my special assignment ended there. And
it sounds like it would have, yeah.
Back to patrol, right? We're only a pin stroke away from patrol. Patrol's like your mama. She'll always take you back.
Yeah.
So I went back to patrol, and he was a great guy, right? That was his job. He had to follow rules. He was doing it a heck of a lot longer than I could, but man, that sucked, right? I mean, that was a tough place to be. And I'm really glad that I only spent like a year there. I'm not built for that at all.
Me either. Yeah, I don't know how you did it, man. I had a former FTO, I believe he actually just retired recently, a guy named Clay Fallis, and he used to talk to us about the pillow test. So same thing, you follow the code. If something happens and you can't go to bed at night, it'll tell you if you did right or wrong. So it's like literally the same concept, just a different terminology. Yep. But he tells out, he was like, if you do something and if you just follow the rules, but it wasn't right, and you couldn't go to sleep, you did wrong. But if it was a rule you followed and you could go to sleep, then you know what I mean. So for you, I believe you made the right choice. I mean, obviously, I believe your supervisor made the right choice as well. Like you said, like everybody had a choice to make. It's just, were you able to face the consequences, so to speak? And like you said, I mean, patrol isn't bad. I mean, it's a different style. I mean, it's from your personality, it seems like you do well in patrol anyway. So it's not.
Love patrol. There's nothing like, hey, you from 10 yards away, right? That means run, right? There's nothing like that.
Right.
I know that today it's no foot chasing, and some bad stuff is happening, right? When I was on the job 12 years ago, cops weren't getting assassinated left and right, right? We weren't being attacked vilified in the media like is happening now. I mean, God bless every single one of you, men and women, who are out there standing on that wall so I can sleep fat and happy at home, right? God bless you all, because I would be on the 6 o'clock news as a poster boy, right? Use of force and the Fourth Amendment. Man, I knew that inside and out.
It was very simple back then. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But you need to know as much of what you can do as well as what you can't do, right? You got to know what the law allows you to do and what you can facilitate and where that goes. And man, that was, I mean, I've been to IAD on use of force. Every single one of them was exonerated, right? Because I did the right thing. And bad guys want to go complain when bad stuff happens to them of their choice. Well, okay, that's fine. I know what I can do. I know what the law says. I know what the courts say. I know what our general orders say. And patrol was a blast. I mean, the people that I got to work with, man, I got to learn so much. I got to learn from old heads who had been on the job longer than I'd been alive. They were just, it was amazing. I got to learn how to shut up and just listen. If you got invited to breakfast with these old heads, you can talk, right?
And you're winning too.
Oh, you are. Trust you. You sit there and be quiet, right? And you're like, yes, sir. If they ask you a question, you answer it succinctly, and you shut up again.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I experienced that, especially early in my law enforcement career as a police officer. I was on with some 25, 30-year vets. And I knew if they were willing to talk to me, then I was good to go. Now, I know nowadays we try not to promote that same type of like hierarchy, but it's still there. Let's call it what it is. You still got people that are 20, 30 years in. We could have been those people like that now we look at like, hey, young blood, you need to slow down. But we were the young bloods at some point, but it's cool that you gain that kind of respect from them. And it's because of how you carried yourself. If they didn't trust the way you were authentic and did it, they wouldn't allow you into their circle, because that's another circle on its own.
It is. I remember you talk about that hierarchy, and I mean, as a beat cop, you know who you can, right? You know the guys you're going to disregard off the call so they don't show up, right? You're like, I don't need to be doing this by myself, but and you're on the computer. Hey, dude, are you anywhere close? Hey, can you come help me out? Right? I remember my sergeant got mad at me one night. Because, it was, hey, 221, will you cover? I'm like, 221, you can disregard. And as soon as they gave him the call, I'm like, you can disregard. I didn't want that cat anywhere near my call, right? He's going to get me killed. I didn't want him there. And my sergeant's like, 271, call a station. I knew I was getting a butt chewing, right? I knew exactly what happened. Yeah. But it's just, who you are and who you want. And, some rookie comes sit down at the table at dinner with you. You're sitting there with the other guys you're on, and you may be having a personal conversation about your house, right? About what's going on the family life, because we are really good on solving other people's problems, but we suck solving our own problems, right? We have a phenomenal way of going in and refereeing or being a counselor or being a pastor, and our house, man, it's unkept, right? We are dysfunctional kings and queens at the house. And all of a sudden you're talking with your partner trying to maybe work through some stuff, and some young rookie slide in next to you, and all of a sudden you're like, who invited you? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I didn't ask you to come have dinner with us. I know, but I saw you guys here. You didn't get beaten. Go find something else. Go find somebody else to sit with.
Go in the parking lot.
Yeah, the guy I'm sitting across was like, dude, that was rude. I'm like, what happened with respect? I would have never said, I wasn't an old head, right? I wasn't an old head, but I would have never sat down with someone who had 10 years more time on and just, hey, what's going on? No.
It's different though, but no, I'm happy you said that. So one thing a conversation, like when you had those private conversations with your zone partners and things like that, talked about managing your household versus managing everybody else's. So what I tell a lot of viewers and a lot of things I speak on is about self-awareness. We're so good at dealing with everybody else's problem but ours, but it's the way we're taught in the academy. We're not taught how to deal with our own problems. We're not taught like extensively how to reflect on our own lives. We are taught how to go to a domestic violence call, separate the parties, make sure somebody sleeps somewhere else, look for injuries. We know how to talk people down. Some of us that have negotiation skills, we could talk down a person with the gun with 10 hostages. We could do all that. But as soon as we walk in the house and our kids had a bad day or our spouses had a bad day, we're like a deer in the headlights. So for you, and obviously you're out of the industry, well, you're out of the uniform industry. You're still working with law enforcement with ASP. Like you're very involved in that. Did you ever have a chance to work on that part of your life while you were in the uniform?
I did. So two instances that we're talking about here. First, Dr. Roger Gilmartin. If you've never been in a course of Dr. Roger Gilmartin, Emotional Survival for Police Officers, you're missing out.
Yeah, he's good.
This gentleman is phenomenal. That course changed my life. Right? And I'll go there. But the other thing was, I was at home. I came home, and as cops, you pull someone over for speeding, they lie to you. You pull someone over on a stoplight, they lie to you. You pull someone over for registration stuff, they lie to you. You pull someone over because there's something wrong with their car and just going to give them hey, this is, they lie to you, right? Everybody you deal with on the street lies to you.
Correct.
Even when they're right, they lie to you because they skew it so they are in the best light at the time. So I went home and I'm talking to my kids like they're hooks on the street. I ask them a question. What do kids do? They're not going to give you the answer. They start playing the freaking answer game, right? Hey, what happened at school today? No, what happened at school? Hey, did you drop this on the floor right here? Well, we define floor, right? And I'm like, no. And I was talking to them like they were hooks, like every single conversation, like they were lying to me, and they weren't. They were being beautiful little children.
Correct.
And my ex-wife, right? That's the other thing we got to change as a culture. Is you ain't real police. You've been married 3 or 4 times, right? How many times you hear that in the academy?
But I've one divorce under my belt, which I unfortunately fall in that number. So I don't want to, but I did.
Right. And so when she told me, she's like, why are you talking to the kids like they're bad guys? And that was eye-opening to me. So I had to start working on how I viewed my family. I had to start working on how I came home and what I did. Dr. Gilmartin in his class, he's like, who are you? I'm like, I'm a cop. No, you are Daryell Harmon. What you do is a cop. Your job is a police officer. What you do is go and take care of people who can't take care of themselves. But you are Daryell Harmon. And if you get this, being a cop, the badge, the shield, mixed up with who you, the person, are, if you lose the badge, the shield, if you lose this job, injury, fired, whatever the circumstance may be, you tend to not do good things to yourself at that point in time. You are lost because your whole identity was the shield. And that's where a lot of guys eat their gun, right? That's where bad stuff happens. And I had to learn who I was at that point in time and try to connect with the ex-wife, my older girl's mom, and try to figure those things out. And she'd been saying it for a long time, but it was tough for me, right? And so those things I got to work on tremendously. Find people outside of the job. Because when you retire, I mean, I see guys spend 30 years, they retire, and 6 months later, they're dead. I mean, that's a great payoff for the pension in the city, right? You don't have to pay very long.
Yeah.
I want to bleed that pension dry.
Yeah.
And I want to live forever, right? But you got to have something along those lines there. I started coaching soccer, my girls' soccer team, through the church, through the one of the city leagues. I started talking to people that were normal, right? Because cops aren't normal. I started talking to people that I didn't talk about how many times I went to jail last night. I didn't talk about, throwing cuffs on this. I wasn't being introduced as the cop, with these people either. It was a different thing that I had to get used to. And I will tell you, not that I was a person who ever had those thoughts, but it allowed me to transition outside the job so much easier.
And it's crazy because even nowadays, like when I'm speaking to other people, and I do have a lot of my friends are actually outside of law enforcement. And it's not because I don't like law enforcement or I've learned, like you said, like I've learned to have that disconnection when I need it, because I know it's good for my brain, because sometimes you're around certain groups so long, you start to carry that mindset. And sometimes that's all they want to talk about is all the bad things going on in the industry. And it's like, I don't mind talking about bad things, but let's talk about something bad. Let's talk about how bad, like something a sports team played. Let's talk about that. I don't want to talk about a call we went to last week and keep dealing with it, but in an unhealthy way. So you're right. Finding those different outlets and just learning who you are. And that's some things that I really emphasize. Before I haven't read Dr. Gilmartin's book. Actually, that's some things I started to work on for myself and when I go speak, because I realized that was one thing that we weren't getting. And it's crazy because his book was written like 2001. So It wasn't like his book was just written last year or nothing like that. And I didn't hear about it until this year. It wasn't until I started doing my studies like heavily and I started talking to different folks like you. I talked to a lot of people out of California, which I think that's where he's based out of, if I'm not mistaken. And they start talking about him. I was like, who is this guy? So I started to research and I was like, he's been talking about emotional survival for 2 decades. But I always tell people there's always high demand for what we have, but not enough supply, meaning there's not enough instructors. There's not enough people talking about things like mental wellness, but we all need it. If not, our numbers wouldn't be what they are. So as we look forward, and I know we talked about this a little bit in the green room, you were at Dallas PD, and one of our former guests that was on was Ruben Ramirez, and he created a program or spearheaded a program called Checkpoints with Dallas PD. You said, although you're not with them now, you guys do something regularly anyways, or did something regularly on your own. Like, what was that process like that you and your friends used to do?
So we would always check in with each other anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Always. You gotta take care of your brother, right? It goes back to the Spartan, the Spartan hoplite shield, right? The Spartan shield was not for the person bearing the shield, right? That shield weighed approximately 35 pounds, bronze and wood. That shield was for the person on your left and the person on your right. It wasn't for you, right? The Spartan women would say, "Itani epita," and that was with your shield or on your shield, right? You came back carrying it, or you came back carried on top of it by the rest of the people who survived the battle. And that is a mantra that we need to have as cops. Itani epita. I can't drop my shield and run away, right? I need to, if my shield is for the person on my left and my right, I got to take care of my brother and sister and check on them. When I see something ain't right, I got to be like, "Hey, Jimmy, how you doing, man? What's going on?"
Can't be scared.
And when Jimmy goes, no, Jimmy, I see you every day. This is when you come in here. This is today. Something ain't right, dude. It's okay, right? And I gotta say, as a cop, I used to think therapy. No, you gotta be weak to go to therapy, right? I mean, I saw 5 killings in one night. I worked 5 killings in one night. Hey, my wife's like, she's like, "How many dead bodies you see?" I'm like, "Oh, right? I don't know how many dead bodies I've seen. I know I know 5 killings in one night. Who sees stuff like that, right? And then I went through therapy once. I'm like, fine, I'll go. I wasn't violent. I wasn't mean. I just needed to work on me, right? And so I went to therapy once, and it's like, "Tell me about the trauma in your life." I'm like, "I don't have trauma in my life." And he's like, you don't have trauma. And you're like, no, then why are you here? My wife thought it'd be a good idea. So I'm here. I want to work on this. And you're the smart guy. You tell me what we need to do. All right, let's go back. So we started working. And as I keep talking, his jaw gets further and further and further. And then we got into like the cop world. And he's like, whoa, how do you see you don't have trauma? I'm like, because I didn't have trauma. I didn't get shot. I didn't get broken. I didn't get. Mm-hmm. That's what, you know. And so when I started going through therapy, now I preach to people. Preach is probably a bad word. I witness to people. That's probably a better word. I testify about how this has helped me. Yes. Right? Not preaching to them because, you know, I'm a member of the hair club myself, right? Kind of thing. I go to therapy. I still do therapy now. And it's interesting to figure out things about why this part rears its head or what happened here and why do you do this? And it's okay. It's not weakness, right? We're humans too. We are normal people too. We aren't superhuman, right? There's no reason to take that away from us. And so I really try to stay into that with my guys, right? We do it now. Some of the guys who are off the job, we still talk. We still check in with each other, you know, on a weekly basis. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how are things at the house? How are things going? And when something happens bad, this is our mantra. This is why we do this. Divide the pain and multiply the joy, right? Go think about Attila the Hun. When Attila the Hun would be in battle, I'm a warrior kind of guy, right? If you saw
I would have never noticed. I would have never thought that till you just said that. I had no clue. Daryell, I didn't. You know what? When you said the Spartan thing, I said maybe he just read it online before the show started because he wanted to impress me. I would have never thought that. But yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
If you saw all the stuff in my room, you'd probably laugh. And I look at this, but if you go look at Attila the Hun, great book, Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. It's thin, doesn't have a lot of pictures. It's thin. It's an easy read, but it's great. But it talks about in this book how when he and his soldiers would be around at night. Now today you do battle 24 hours a day. You got NVGs, nods, whatever you want to call them. You know, you're fighting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no time. You fly in country, you're there. You fly out of country. But it used to not be that way. You marched your men into battle and you battled during the day. And then you went back and you either licked your wounds by the campfires, dividing the pain, or you celebrated the joys, multiplying the joy, right? We don't do that as a fellowship of humans anymore. And you got to. That's what keeps you strong is that community. That takes a village kind of thing. We're still children. We're just a different point in our life, right? But it takes that dividing the pain and multiplying the joy. So my good buddies, we call it the Rat Pack. We stay together doing that, right? You always have weekly check-ins with one another. Sometimes it's more than that. And you're never afraid. If my phone rings, if I send Will a text and he can't answer, Will immediately sends me right back. Are you okay? Things good? Yeah, immediately, if he can't answer a phone call. Now that's brotherhood, right? That's Ikani Epita.
Yeah, because he knows that your norms based on all your interactions is you're gonna answer. So when you don't, he's like, what's going on? So now you obviously being in the law enforcement family, you learn how to create a tribe and you learn how to create the Rat Pack and you learn how to kind of form these bonds. Now, as you transition to the corporate side of what we do, were you able to carry this over to them? Did you find the same kind of camaraderie in this organization? Now, don't get me wrong, ASP is a really big company. So it's not like you got a 5-man organization that just started last week, but you guys are big. So did you find, because you have a lot of law enforcement, at least that's my assumption, in that organization. So did you find the same type of camaraderie in that group as well?
So the Rat Pack actually came at ASP, right?
Oh.
Those guys, Chicago PD guy, actually 2 guys from Illinois, one Chicago, one right outside the suburbs, 2 NYPD guys, and then me. And that's the group that really just kind of bonded because there's not an ego. We're always pushing each other, always coaching one another, always, loving on one another, always like our families, bringing someone in, breaking bread, building bonds. Mm-hmm. That was huge. With ASP, that was a big deal for me, and I worked my way up. Right, I came in as a what we call a territory director. Right, I worked at Talos states: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, It's not the exact order. It's out of order on the Talo, but that was my area. And then I worked up and grew, and I was a trainer already for ASP. When I was still on the police department in Dallas in 2008, I became a trainer, and I didn't leave the department until 2011, and went to work at full time. So I was the first guy that was sort of a hybrid guy. I did sales. Our rule is salesman sell, and our sell, and our trainers train. And we don't really combine those worlds, right? Trainers can talk about product, which might lead to sales,
right?
But they don't sell anything.
Yes.
And so I had a foot in both worlds, and I oversee our training program now. I'm the VP of sales. I'm just a blessed person. I get to travel all over the place. I have phenomenal trainers all over the world, amazing guys in Ireland and Spain and Belgium and France and New Zealand and all over the US. I mean, you name it, we got good. Germany. I mean, we got good cats, and I get to learn so much from these guys. But that camaraderie, man, it is huge, right? We really believe in breaking bread together and building those bonds, but we call each other out, right? You know, if you're not pulling your weight, you're going to get talked to by somebody, and I make it that my position doesn't qualify my ability. Right. So when we have to do training conferences once a year, we have to come back once every 2, but once a year we hold one. I run the drills. I lead from the front. Right. If we're doing a nasty gut check, I want to be the first guy out. Right. I want to set the tone and the pace, because I don't want to be that guy who is out of shape, can't hold my own anymore, but yet I still hold a title. Right. We got those guys in the department, in training areas in the department. Some people aren't going to like I say that, right? They just want to get out of patrol, and they sit there and hold that spot forever. When your job should have been to pass that baton, right? You should have been finding someone to mentor, and then pass and watch them excel past you. That was their job, but they didn't do that, right? And so that's my job now. My job is always training my replacement.
So it's interesting. We talk about fitness, and we talked about a little bit before the show started, and you talk about obviously holding your own, especially these drills you guys do, these qualifications. Now, we talked about a little bit of your health concerns and things like that. So as you have these different health concerns, like physically at least, how does that like impact the mental side? Because a lot of people say they go work out to alleviate some of this. So I know we all get a little bit older. I can tell you the 21-year-old version of Michael Layler is different from the 38 version. 38, like I could probably still jump fences, but there's a good chance my hamstring may pop in the process nowadays. Like I still have some athleticism, but it's different. So for you, as you found yourself getting more into these roles and still making sure you want to like improve and show what you can do, when you've had these physical things come up, like how has that impacted your mental well-being, and what are you doing, or what do you think you can do to kind of overcome it?
Man, it is frustrating, right? Getting old sucks, and because it's just, man, we all know we don't heal as quickly as we used to, right? And it was 2 years ago. It was July of 2021, and we were sitting in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We had just done something with the public safety cadets, done some training. We're working on a new civilian launch training program that we just launched this year. We're building this program out, and I fly home, and I'm there with the Rat Pack guys, right? And I fly home, and James calls me up, and he goes, "Hey, man, I love you." Oh, hell.
Yeah, that's never good.
This ain't going to be good. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And he's like, what does that mean you did something wrong? That's not how we start conversations, James.
Nah.
And he's like, well, you know, you're on the job, you're doing this, you know, you've got our trainers, you have your family. We love you. Get to it. What's the bad news? Right. And he's like, hey, you have the mind of a strategist. You have the heart of a warrior. You got the body of a fat ass. You got to fix this.
You got to do something.
And I was 270 pounds, right? I'm only like 6'1". I was 270 pounds. I didn't realize that I was 9 months pregnant and walking around looking like this. I didn't realize, because it just creeps on you.
Yeah.
And then we put a goal out. We set this deal down. They're like, well, coach, we'll help. We'll do this. And by December, I dropped 40 pounds. I was at 216 pounds.
Wow.
In December, and cut. And I was in the best shape of my entire life by February, March of the next year. I put on a little bit of weight, like muscle. I was sitting at 225, and I felt good about who I was, right? I was on cloud nine. I mean, you couldn't. I like the fact that I can do more than men half my age. I like that. I love that. And I got young daughters, right? I got a 4-year-old. I got a 8-week-old. Oh, no, 12 now. 12-week-old now, right? I'm going to be old when they're in high school. Well, older. I ain't going to be old, right? I'll be older when they're in high school. I still got to take these young bucks who come into the house and be like, I ain't afraid to go back to prison, right?
Yeah,
and so,
that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll be okay with that, right? And I got to make sure that that's okay because I know how to, all this gray hair, I know how to cheat, right? And so, but I got to be in shape. I got to do good things for my family. I got to leave a legacy. And so my 4-year-old, man, I'm doing burpees out there. I'm swinging kettlebells or center mass bells. I'm out there swinging stuff. I'm jumping rope. She's out there doing stuff with me, right? When we're doing yoga, she does yoga. She gets bored, but she does it with us, right? Yeah. I'm building stuff for her. That's a legacy I get to pass along. But now, I mean, I was cloud nine, right? Top of the world. Man, look at all I've done. I'm talking to everybody. I'm motivating people. I have like 8 accountability groups. I mean, I'm like the king of the world, right? This is great. Then I get a concussion in October of last year. And guys, that's no joke. Don't be messing with your melon, right? That's no joke. I used to say it's a non-vital organ, but it is no joke. And then all of a sudden my fitness I couldn't work out right. I couldn't even regulate my body temperature right at that point in time. And so my workout started to slip. And then I tweaked like a groin muscle, and then I messed up a wrist. And so, now all of a sudden, small little things happen. And I just talked about this today in a session. And I'm like, it is devastating mentally, right? I put on like 20 pounds since October of last year, and it's not good pounds, right? It's like kind of pounds, right? And my wife's like, okay, those chocolate cakes are working. It's good. I'm really happy. I don't need any women looking at you, right? And that's the beauty about having a wife who loves, right? She don't care exactly what you look like because she loves it here.
Yeah.
And age is something you never escape, right? Everybody falls victim to age. And so that's what I'm doing right now is dealing with that. And it is mentally tough. But the accountability groups, the knowing that I'm not on the couch eating ho-hos watching Oprah. Today I got up and I might not have ran, a 5K sub 27. And that's probably slow for a lot of people out there. That's not for me, right? That's my fitness kitten right here. On 9/17, so a year ago, I did 27:07. My goal was 27 minutes by January 1, and it's still on my fitness goal board, right? And I didn't make it.
Quick for your size. That's pretty quick for your height.
6'1" and 2 at that point in time was 225, right? It's not little. And so, I mean, little things like that, right? Your fitness goal, setting goals, setting priorities, they keep you mentally straight. Understanding that falling forward is not defeat, right? It's like Rocky V. I didn't hear no bell, right? You got to get up. It's about how many times you get up off the ground that you got to do. And this job will beat you down. And we let our physical go first as cops, right? That's the first thing that goes because I got to work the extra job. I got to go to court. I got to deal with the family. Man, I'll tell you what, that cures so many ailments and so many aches and keeps you mentally aware. That's my what I call windshield time, right? That's when I'm out solving problems. That's when I'm out going, what is going on with the house? How do I work my finances better? How do I take care of my family better? Was I present as a father today? When the wife says to me, hey, can you stay in and help out with the kids to go to bed tonight? And it's my workout time and I'm jonesing for a good workout. Taking care of her and being present for my children will pay dividends well beyond going and running that 5-mile run that night. So that's what keeps me mentally able to deal with the injuries, knowing that these injuries are temporary. And if they're not, I'll find another way to stay strong, right? So, okay, maybe I can't go out and do sprints because I'm never getting over this groin strain, right? It's been a 6-month groin strain. I'm not going to get over it. So no sprints. All right. Well, I'm going to get on a bike and I'm going to do a 15-mile bike ride for an hour and a half in 107-degree heat, right? That's my buddy's like, why are you training that heat? because you got to train in uncomfortable, right? You got to learn to live in uncomfortable. And that's the mental stability for me. I think that's what I'll attribute it to. Going through then, when I don't want to run anymore, when I'm at mile 1 and I'm on a 5-mile run and I'm at mile 1, I'm like, I'm done with this. No, I can't be, because my family depends on me to try harder, right? My brothers depend on me to try harder. The shield for the ones on the left and the right, that shield's heavy, but you got to carry it farther. And so that's how I get over that, Michael.
And that makes sense. I mean, because you just can't quit. You can't just sit on the couch and eat chocolates all day. Because I like how you find other things to do, because it's important to understand. So let's say, and that's sometimes where people go wrong, even into mental depression or mental well-being. They're especially guys that are really into fitness. They're like, oh, I broke my ankle, and the doctor says, oh, you need to be off it for 3 months, and then you find themselves going into that depressive state. It's like, well, don't go into the depressive state. Find something else to do with whatever you have going on. Like, just change your direction. And it sounds like that's what you do or have been doing.
I try. So I'm sure you're familiar with Pat McNamara.
Yes.
Man, Pat Mac is amazing. And he talks about boredom and the same routines and fitness, and it's an idle mind, right? And I man, that guy, he's hardcore. And he's actually get to listen to some of his podcast stuff. He actually went through a very debilitating syndrome. I don't know if it's a disease, but a very physically debilitating piece. And he had to really work through that. And his story on working through that is pretty daggum awesome. And you watch him do his workouts. That's a guy I ain't wanted to jack with, no matter where we are, right? That's a yes sir, no sir. I'm a yes sir, no sir guy anyway, right? I'm from Texas. This is what we do.
That is what we do.
Is yes or no, sir. It's polite. You better run to the door and hold it open for someone. You better get out of people's seats. It's just polite, right? And he's a good cat. I haven't got to like me. I'd love to sit down and drink a beer with him. He's always at this one bar out there, I think in South Carolina, wherever he lives out there on the East Coast, right? It's not like he makes I just don't go out there, right? But a way that he does things and it really motivates me. I'm like, well, I didn't have to warm up for an hour just to be able to open my hands up. I had it better than what he did today. Nick Lavery, he had his leg blown off. I got it better than him. Now he's a beast, right? But and I got some of his machine shirts and the line between madness and they're great shirts. They're nice and soft and
they make you feel good.
Soft. I like soft, right? It does make you look good too, right? But I mean, but you see some of these people and you learn from some of these people and you go, okay, if they can overcome all of this, me, I'm not shot. I'm not blown up. I can get up in the morning. I don't have to be lazy. There is no excuse for not doing something 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, and it's funny, Pat McNamara, I was on a podcast earlier. The Uninterrupted podcast is by Steve Harmon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's out of Maryland, and he was talking about Pat McNamara as well, because he had him on his podcast, I think a couple of episodes ago. So it's crazy just how we talked about different circles of people and how things happen. But when you hear these stories of how people actually have like really aggressive challenges and obstacles to overcome, kind of like we talked about earlier, I'm just happy to wake up every morning. I mean, not saying that I have anything that's going to stop me from waking up specifically, but every chance, every day, every opportunity that I could just wake up each day, I'm like, okay, what do I need to accomplish? It sounds like you already do. Is that the kind of mindset you usually enter every day with?
It is. And so finding the time of the day that you can own, right? That's an important piece that we forget. We get so tied up with everything else going on. We make excuses. It's too easy to make excuses. Find a time of the day that you can own, whatever that time is, right? I used to want to do it at night, but my wife needs help with the house. She's got a job too, right? It's not just her responsibility. Now, I'm a traditional role person, right? I like to be the man of the house. She likes to be the woman of the house. She takes care of a lot of the house things. And I like to cook now. I used to suck at that, but I want to give to my family. I want to take care. I want to protect. I'm the protector of my family, right? That is my job, is to lead my family to with their thoughts, their best interest in mind. I'm gonna get some hate on this. With their best interest in mind, it's my job to go out there and find the best routes for us to protect and do the right things with them. And that doesn't mean I make decisions in a vacuum. I talk to her, we work through things together. And if we disagree, if I'm passionate, I'm a passionate person. When you talk about raw, you're right. And I'm passionate about the things I do. Not politically correct. And these are but we work for those things together, right? And so I need to be there for her. She needs help with the kids, needs help doing dishes, needs help doing laundry. I wear the stuff. I get it dirty. I mess up the dishes. I need to help out with those things. So going at night didn't work for me. And I'm like, I'm going to do it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My boss is awesome. Daryell, you got to make sure you work out. I tell my guys, hey, if you're not working out every day, that's on you. Take time through your day and go work out. You work on the road. The road is debilitating. The food's terrible. Your workout habits, your sleeping habits, it's all bad. Get your workouts in. It will fix you. If you're a deep nights guy and you're not working out, shame on you, right? Because deep nights just tears the body apart, right? Yeah. So my guys aren't deep nights guys, but that's just my little soapbox. And so 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to go work out. Now, there's some days, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I still go work out. Sometimes that's workout number 2, because I started learning that meetings happen. Fires came up. Yes. Mama needed this done. I got to go run errands. I got a trip that takes place. I wasn't getting my workouts in. 5 o'clock in the morning, no one's up in my house. That was my time. I had to sacrifice staying up watching TV late at night because I was a deep nights guy, right? I didn't get tired till 2, 3 in the morning. So I had to start going to bed early, and I had to get up before the enemy. If you recognize that, Jocko talks about that, right? I had to get up early in the morning because I could own that time. And at that time, the world was mine. Mm-hmm. It was quiet. I could put in whatever workout. By the time I got back, I could shower, and Mama was just getting up, and I could help her with the whole family. Everybody was happy. So that's the piece where you got to wrap your head around. What can you own, right? Because, Michael, this is my piece.
Go.
You have to be consistent. Consistency builds habits. Habits lead to a lifestyle. A lifestyle lends itself to a journey, and your journey will turn itself into a legacy for those who go beyond you, right? And so that's the mindset that I have, because I want my children to see that healthy is a choice and a lifestyle, and you got to sacrifice things to get to where you want to go. And so that consistency and habits and lifestyle and journey and legacy, I try to own and live that daily.
So I love how many nuggets, how many gold that you're giving right now. You've had a lot of training in your life. What you say isn't just you winging it, or you're looking at TikTok reels, and I don't mean nothing against TikTok, or like Instagram reels, whatever one. You're not just guessing or shooting from like the hip. I could tell you've done a lot of training in your life. I could just tell, even probably before ASP. What would you tell an officer, especially earlier on in their career, about doing additional training outside of what the agency offers?
Gotta love this. You're a gold mine, man. I used to think, nope, if the agency doesn't supply it to me, I'm not doing it. Right. I fell victim to that mindset. Mm-hmm. No one takes care of you like you do. You better go learn how to fight. You better go learn how to take care of you. You have a responsibility to those you love. You have a responsibility to the people on your left and your right to be able to take care of yourself. That is your responsibility. That's a personal responsibility that each and every one of us should have. And it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when you leave the job, right? That should be something we should do. Go find training. Go learn how to fight. Now, I know warrior's a dirty word now. I don't care, because you must learn how to be a warrior in life. The Bible said, be a warrior for Christ, right? Put on the armor of God. The Bible talks about this. It wasn't go be kind. It wasn't all go be kind, right? I mean, but it's go to do battle.
Be ready.
Go up. It is fight, and you got to prepare yourself for those fights. The Bible talked about preparing yourself for fights. I'm talking about doing the same thing. Prepare yourself for these fights. Go spend money with something that you're going to use. Don't get caught up in the hype of the new fad, right? People are like, what's the best martial art? It's the one you're going to use. It's the one you're going to train on. Well, I want to learn this awesome double back under flip. Okay, watch UFC. You watch the good people in UFC. How many things do they have? They got 2 or 3 good moves. You watch Ronda Rousey. When she was the beast of all she did, she told people, I'm going to throw you on the ground and I'm going to armbar you, and you're not going to do anything about it. And it wasn't until she started trying to stand up with people that got her jaw broke. Mm-hmm. Now, that's when her world changed, right? If she would have just kept doing what worked for her, nothing ever mattered, right? So you got to do what's going to be right for you, your body type, your whatever. You know, if boxing's it, go box. But if jujitsu's it, go jujitsu. If Krav is it, go Krav. If Thai, Muay Thai, go do that. But go do outside. Physically, it's great. Mentally, it's great. It teaches you so much about who you are. It teaches you not how to quit. When you got a big 350-pound dude laying on top of you, and he's just laying and praying, and you got to figure out, how do I get out from underneath him? That's an eye-opening time for you, right? When you're getting choked out in the world, right? When you get choked out, you don't even know you're out until all of a sudden people are like, are you okay? And those are eye-opening things for you, right? When you get hit in the head, man, when you get hit in the head or in the liver, that's worse. When you get hit in the liver and your knees stop working and you drop to the ground and all of a sudden you're just getting rung up, you learn things about you, right? So go pay to learn how to fight physically, mentally. Go to schools that challenge you mentally and emotionally. Go to figure out who you are, right? Go learn some good stuff about use of force. Go learn good stuff about, if you love recreating crashes, man, go to that accident reconstruction thing that you're having to do, like all kinds of crazy physics and theoretical calculus to make stuff happen, right? You gotta constantly push yourself. And if the department won't pay for you to do it, go do it on your own. Go find a way to do it on your own. And if you can't afford it, I guarantee if you reach out to somebody and be like, look, sometimes there are good people who will find a way to make something happen if you're passionate about what you're doing. And that's what led me here. All my training, Jeff L., man, he was the senior man in my sector. And I went to him all hot and bothered over me and a lieutenant doing this as me as a sergeant. He's like, Daryell, why are you here? Your resume is phenomenal. You should be in the private sector. Why are you here? I'm like, because I'm a cop. I'm a lifer. This is my job. Daryell, don't be stuck like the rest of us. Go find something else. Go do more. Your calling is to be more than what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And it was phenomenal. But if I didn't go through all this other training, some of it I paid for, some of it the city paid for, a lot of my own personal, man, and you got to not be afraid, right? Ooh. That's the whole thing. And that's what those trainings teach you, right? Mm-hmm. When you go do martial art, that's what they teach you is fear is okay if you ball it up and you use it to motivate, right? But if it paralyzes you, use it to fire you up.
Yeah, it's funny as we talk about training, and I mean, where I sit at today is because I've done a lot of outside training, and I had my own passions, and I emphasize what you've been saying. I tell people, hey, if you believe in something that you want to do, go spend money on it. And it's actually not that expensive as you probably think it might be. People are out here spending 20 and 30 grand on college degrees. You can spend $600 on a course. That's gonna, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you guys, even with ASP, there's courses that I've seen you guys have that it's like with law enforcement discount is like $400. I'm like,
oh, no. Oh, you got us. No, our training is all tuition free. We don't charge a soul. And I give you 350. No, I personally, sorry, the company, right? Yeah. The company gives you $350 for the free gear when you leave the class, pass or fail. We don't give certificates for just showing up, though. It's competency based. You earn that stuff, right? But no, I mean that's a beauty when you're talking about that. people do mix those things up with us because we're the only group in the industry that doesn't use training as a profit center. We believe that if we make good products, we need to teach you how to use good products. And if you aren't using our products, okay, I'm still going to teach you how to use the products that whatever you're using is correct, because it's principle based. Yeah. And it's simple. And you can take it back to roll call and do training in roll call, let alone a DT room.
Yeah, that's on me. I thought y'all charged. No. So, hey, so you guys here, hey, go to ASP. Hey, he told you there's training out there. But they're really, I mean, honestly, I've known about ASP, at least the tool, since 2005 when I used to carry one as a police officer. So I've known about the organization. Now, I did not, like I said, this is my very first time ever realizing you guys provide training like that. So definitely for the viewers, obviously, you know what the product does, you know the history, the consistency in the organization. But if you're looking for training, the whole point of why we're saying this is that you don't need to have a big budget of your own. If you're going to go spend $500 to go watch the Cowboys play, go spend $500 to train yourself as well. Meaning that do both, but prioritize. Cowboys, you're going to have a good time, maybe have a few drinks, tailgate, might see Dak Prescott throw a touchdown here and there, who knows. But what about your future? What are you spending on yourself to grow? And I see so many people spend money like, well, this is my free time, I want to spend it on leisure stuff. I say, yeah, but then tomorrow you're going to complain about how you don't get any training. You don't want to spend money on things that's going to improve you, but you're going to spend money on things that's going to improve other people. So when we look at all this stuff, like when you hear people say stuff like that, like, well, I can't afford it. Like how does that, like, what kind of feeling does that bring to you, given all the training you've been through?
Man, I grew up poor. I grew up East Side Grand Prairie, Skyline Apartments. Oh my gosh. I was the only white boy in an all Hispanic neighborhood. We played beat up the white boy every single day. I was the only guy playing. It was not the game to join in on. I just didn't really have a choice, right? And until it took me 6 weeks to learn to fight, right? And after 6 weeks, and I win my first fight, and then I was accepted. I didn't have to fight anymore for years. And why I say that is I was poor. I had to work in the lumber yard. At 12 years old, I started, my father was a lumber yard foreman. I worked in the lumber yard 5 a.m. till 5 p.m. for $2.50 an hour, cash, right? If I wanted to go to Six Flags, that was my money to go to Six Flags. If I wanted to go buy, a video game, that was my money to go buy video. I wanted to go out to dinner. I want to go to Reunion Tower. It's not clearly not called Reunion Tower anymore. That's old school, right? I want to go Reunion Tower. Man, I had to have my own money. It's not because my father was mean. We were poor.
Yeah.
We were poor. So as I grew up, I didn't have that, right? And when people say, I don't have enough money, I shake my head at that. If you are not worth investing in, what is? Right? I'll give you a tidbit. If you are going to go into debt to make an investment that's going to make you money. Think about that for a second. If you're going to go into debt, I'm going to draw out, let's say it's $500 to go to this class. But this class is going to allow me to propel into a new rank structure. It's going to allow me to propel into, maybe in Texas, the master peace officer, and my agency paid $600 a month more for master peace officer, $500, that's $6,000 a year, right? You get short-sighted, right? I've paid to be able to go do some classes. So I got my master peace officer so that I could get $5,000 or $6,000 more a year being a master peace officer with the city of Dallas. So I went into debt $500 to make $6,000 per year aggregate each year. If I'm not willing to invest in, if you're going to go into debt investing in you so that you make more money later. We don't talk about finances as cops, right? We don't deal with that. No one tells us that these are smart things to do.
Oh, trust me. The money I invested in just my speaking business, obviously, just my setup in here. I was talking about my lights, my microphone, things I've been able to see across the world has come at me investing in myself. And I can tell you, yeah, I've spent a couple of grand, more than a couple of grand. I can't even say it was that cheap, but I mean, it's at least been 5 times the return financially and also intrinsically. Like I've also been able to meet people like the podcast, like today, us having this podcast If I just start growing myself and started to build my business and investing in myself financially, I wouldn't have some of the skills I have now. And that's kind of where it starts, but it starts with you. Like, I mean, I love the fact that you talk about your time working in a lumber yard at 12. So when I hear that, I said, okay, he's had work ethic since he was at least 12, at least. And when you hear that, I hear people say, well, I don't want to work any overtime. Well, you want to go buy this stuff, then you might need to. If your job's only paying, let's say 50 grand a year, and you need 51,000, so to speak, yearly, that extra $1,000, you better go find it somewhere. And more than likely, there's somewhere where you can go work. And we've all had, like, I know it sounds like you've definitely been in the boat. We've all had second jobs. We've all had other different projects we've worked on. And it's about the passion. And I think once you find that passion and you start to develop who you are, you realize that some of these small steps you have to take. $500 to make an extra $600 a month. That sounds like a shoo-in, but you're right. I've had people that one of the things that one of the organizations I've been with, they do bus driving. And one thing they didn't do is that they didn't give you a CDL. You had to pretty much come with a CDL. And I've heard people say, well, I don't want to go do the CDL training. I say, so at most, let's say you spend $5,000 on a training. There's people that drive these buses that will tell you they make an extra 25, 30 grand a year. Not even aggregate, 25 or 30 grand a year because they have their CDL. So I tell the person, so why don't you just take out like a $5,000 loan? You already know if you get this license, you're a shoo-in because we're short. They're short on those people. Invest in yourself. You keep telling me that you want to be on the bus. You keep telling me you want to be in these certain roles. But if you're not willing to invest in yourself, people aren't going to just magically invest in you, especially agencies.
I just spent, what I spent today, $400 on a speaking platform, right? Where the guy helped coaches and like I need help telling stories, right? But I mean, there's something I can learn, right? This cat's pretty good, right? And how he frames things, and it's a whole platform that I got to be part of. And I'm like, hey, honey, I want to spend this money. She's like, okay, are you going to use it? Yep. I love public speaking. I love speaking in general. I think it's a phenomenal piece to be able to do. I want to start building up keynote speaking. I want to start doing this. I want to start doing that. And she's like, okay. And I said, so there's some things I need to polish, right? There's some things I need to work on. There's some things I need to do. And she's like, do it, run with it, make it happen. My personal investment. Now I could probably go back to the boss, and because we have a very liberal policy with that, right? If you're wanting to advance your education here with the company and you buy something and you get involved in an education portion in college or whatever it is, they'll reimburse. They'll do a lot of cool stuff, right? We have a physical fitness reimbursement program where we just started this last year. Hey, it'll pay for part of your gym memberships up to like $600 a year, right? That you can get back. It's really awesome. We want to invest in our people. You buy a machine, a rower, a treadmill, or whatever, because we want your longevity to be around. We want to invest in you. We care about you as a person, and you have to be, but you have to be on the hook. If I spend $100, I can only get 75% of that reimbursed, right? So I got to have an investment in it too. You got skin in the game, and that's where we want people to be. And if you're not willing to invest in you, why should I? Right? As a city, think about it. City's a business. It is. If you, Michael, aren't willing to invest in yourself to go do X, why should I invest in you? What's the return of that for me? And a lot of guys go do training because they want it for them. It's only about what they are going to get out of it. It's not about what they can get back. And sometimes you got to really put that into a perspective of stuff. But you know what? The city don't want to pay for me to do it. And that's their loss. Look what they are losing, because I'm going to be resellable. And in this market, you as a cop who is educated and who is trained, ooh, you are a commodity to be bidded for, right? I mean, you are like a pro player on the market. You're just out there ready to be, all right, I'm a free agent. Who wants some of this? And if your reputation on top of that supersedes what you're doing education-wise, man, that lateral transfer money's all over the place.
You're right.
You get a hold of me. I know a couple of phenomenal agencies that got great people working for them. I'll direct you certain places if you want to get a hold of me, and I'll put you in touch with some people.
Yeah. And so when you are feeling frustrated, let's say you're one of the viewers right now, you're like, man, I'm just so frustrated with my agency. Start getting trained. Make yourself marketable. That's the crazy part about our industry. And I know I wasn't taught this in any academy or any organization I actually worked for, but you start looking at what people do in the private sector, they're always getting certifications. They're always getting different degrees. They're always getting different trainings, because outside of law enforcement, the more you're trained, the more people want to hire you. And sometimes people don't want to train you once you get there. So they want to see what you've done ahead of time before you got there. And same thing internally. When you start saying, oh, I've done this storytelling training, I've done training with ASP, now I'm a master instructor. Your agency sees that. So when you go to your promotional board, they're going to see all the things you've done to invest in yourself. Now, Daryell and I can't guarantee they're going to take it all into account or propel you over. But what if you have that assistant chief of police like Ruben Ramirez and he loves training? He's going to look at your jacket and say, oh, you've done 10 different things in the last 3 years. You know, this person next to you, you know, they may have written more tickets or they may have been in the agency longer, but they haven't done really anything outside. They may know some internal things, but I'm looking for a person that's more well-rounded. So when you start looking at your training, your development, I think, Daryell, I think it's so important to start making that investment sooner than later.
It's compound interest, right? It's like your 401k or your 457.
Yep.
Put it in now and put it in lots. I mean, I teach my kids 10% goes to the church, right? 10% goes to savings, 20% of your money, it goes to retirement. You live off of 60% of your money. Mm-hmm. If you learned that at 16 years of age, when you got your job, don't buy them cars, I make them pay for their cars. Right. I bought the car and they owe me for the car. Right. They don't have interest, but they got to pay for that car. They're learning principles now. Right. That might be mean. I don't care. I know that when my dad gave me his 1989 two-door red Hyundai Excel, I mean, that was a chick magnet, right? No. and when he gave that to me, I didn't take care of that car like it should have been taken care of. And I know the next car that I bought, I took a whole lot of care of that because it was my money. Right. Yeah. So I teach my kids principles, 10% to the church, because you give back first what was given to you. Right. It's not even yours. It's given to you. Right. You give that back. And then you spend 10% into savings because you need fluid money, at least 6 months of fluid money to take care of yourself in case something bad happens. All right. And then 20% of that money goes into retirement because you can't make up compound interest. You can't. And you put it in now. You know, even at 16, I can open up a Roth IRA for her, and whatever she makes in a year, she can put equal into there. I can put it, gift it, do whatever, but not more than what she makes. That money, that's the interest on that is tax-free because it's post-tax money going in. She ain't got to pay taxes on that. She can never make up the interest that she's going to do now from 16 to 25, right? That 9 years of money going there is massive. People forget those things. When you go take these classes, it's compound interest for later on in your career. You can't make that up by going investing here. You're not going to be able to make that up later down the line, because no matter when someone else tries to jump on the train, they're in the caboose. You're up at the front, right? You're driving by the engine. They can't get up to you because you're still moving forward with the train, right? And so people don't look at it that way. They don't see that investment and why it's really pertinent to what they can do.
Right.
And maybe it's because they don't believe in themselves. But I'll tell you what, you should find a way.
Because there is a way. There's usually always a way. There's so many different funding sources. There's so many different groups. Sometimes you just got to reach out and do a little bit of a Google search. I mean, that's the joys of the internet. Find things. Just type in there law enforcement training. There's HIDA groups. There's ASP groups. There's different Department of Justice groups. It just depends on who you email. There's I'm speaking at a conference next week in Virginia. The training they offer is free. Literally, it's free to everybody that attends. And I said, really? Because it's sponsored by the state. But it's crazy how many different things there are out there. So as we start to round out the tonight's show and we start thinking about futures and we start thinking about how to keep building and some of the stuff you talked about, if someone was looking for you, Daryell, what is the best way or best ways for someone to reach out to you?
So the easiest, I think, is LinkedIn, right? Daryell, Daryell Harmon, Harmon. That's on LinkedIn. If you just look up my first name, last name on there, big bearded guy, big silverback gorilla looking dude, that's me. The young kids in the family call me Gorilla Daryell because I roll around and right, and I love Donkey Kong, and so that's just kind of what we are. And if you did that, if you emailed, my company email, Daryell first name dot last name at asp-usa.com. And those are the easiest things. And on LinkedIn, man, it's got my phone number on there. It's got my email on there. It's got everything, right? Because you should be able to contact people. I believe philosophically, my job is to find someone who's up ahead of me who's really good, right? Because you're the sum of the people that you travel in your circle with, right? And so I need to find people up there that are doing good things in the circles I want to be in. And I need to pull on a rope. I throw a grappling rope up there to them. I don't care, right? And I got to pull my way up. But I owe it to those who are behind me to throw a rope back and to pull them forward, right? So if you're that person, I don't have all the answers. I'm nowhere near that, right? But I have the passion, and I know people that have way more answers than I do, and we can get you where you need to go or whatever. But that's how you find me.
Yeah. So guys, think about it. So once again, if you're looking for training opportunities or just information, Daryl's a good resource. I can tell you guys from my interactions with him, I can tell he's very genuine about what he talks about. He's very authentic about really growing and just seeing people grow to be better versions of themselves, because so many times we think we have to face this world by ourselves. You don't. You deal with a lot of stress, especially if you currently wear the uniform of any color or any city, doesn't matter, any agency, whether you call yourself a deputy or you call yourself a trooper, you call yourself a police officer or border patrol, whatever you call yourself, you deal with a lot. But there's answers out there, and a lot of those answers have a solution through training. Go out there and get the training. Daryell is a great resource. This is one of the things he works in a company that believes in training at all types. And like he said, if he can't help you directly, I'm pretty sure, given what he's done and who he's met in his life, he could probably guide you in the right way. Even if you're like, that ain't up Daryl's wheelhouse. When you're in training, when you're in the circle of growth, you know somebody for everything. I had somebody reach out to me a while ago about active shooter. I don't know active shooter training, but I had no problem referring them to the person that I did know. So I say that to say that if you reach out to someone like Daryell, even if it's not directly related to what he does on an everyday basis, I'm pretty sure I can promise you that he's going to at least have an idea of someone you can reach out to. So we definitely want to make sure we're using our network, and you guys are definitely understanding how much stuff someone like that's been through. Maybe you just need someone to talk to. I mean, just reach out like, hey, Daryell, we know you've been through some things. Can you tell us something? This happened to me recently. So whatever it might be, LinkedIn, his company email, whatever, and we'll have it in the notes at the bottom for you guys to see, but definitely reach out, because we have people on this show that I believe is going to be impactful in the uniform and outside of the uniform. And I do believe Daryell fits both of those. So, Daryell, any final words that you'd like to give the audience?
Man, Michael, thank you for those kind words. It's great. Man, to the audience, just 10 minutes a day, right? 1% better. Richard Hogg says it all. Rick Hogg says it all the time. 10% better. 1% better every day. You have no excuse not to be able to put in 10 minutes of workout a day. And you'll be amazed at what 10 minutes every day turns into, right? It'll change your life. 10 minutes a day will absolutely change your life. Be present at home. Be present at home. Be present for your family. Make sure they understand that, because when the job's gone, or when you're not on the job is a machine. It's going to eat you up. It's designed to chew and spit you out. It's not designed to love you. It's not going to love you back. So understand that, right? And know where you're going to be, and know that when you're done, the job is going to keep on going. Guys will still be working the job. They'll be working extra jobs. It won't be long, and they won't even know who you are. Right? You won't recognize anybody on the job anymore. So be present at home. Find something outside of this world. Anchor yourself to it. Tether yourself to that. And don't be afraid to transition, right? Don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to find a new way. and to understand that your value is not in that shield that you wear. Your value is in here and how you carry yourself every day.
10 minutes a day, guys. So if you're not doing anything right now, start off with 10 minutes a day. It will make a life change. And he's right. Just even if you're doing push-ups or burpees or making a 10-minute walk, just something. If you're not doing anything, any start counts, but consistency is going to be your friend. Next thing you know, it'll go to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Next, you know, you're working out for 2 hours. You're like, how did my day end up being a whole workout session? But you have to start somewhere, and you got to be consistent no matter what situation you're in. Be present at home. I don't really want to say much more on that because that's those 4 words is all you need to know. Be present at home. Be present with your family. Understand that they're going to be there once you leave your organization, no matter what you say. I mean, you're going to leave the organization no matter what, and it's going to keep moving. It's a machine. It's designed to keep it rolling. And then remember, value is within you. It's not created by your shield. It's not created by that certificate you got from the academy. It's not created by any award. It's created by what you deal with every day within you. So, man, Daryell, those are all great nuggets you gave. Obviously, people are going to enjoy this show. I definitely enjoyed having you on. You're definitely an asset. I can see why you've done so well in ASP, just because of your knowledge, your energy, and what you've been able to bring to the table, even in our short, little over hour episode tonight. But thank you again. And folks, so all you listening, make sure you hit Daryell up. He's already told you how to reach him if you forgot. LinkedIn, his company email, and he will be able to share some of the experiences, some of the knowledge he has, because that's what we want to do. If he didn't want to share what he had, he wouldn't have been on the podcast. It would have been pretty simple. He wouldn't be out here trying to go. I mean, it's a very simple decision. If I don't want to share, I'm just not going to do it. So you could tell based on what you guys heard and have seen that he's a man that wants to see you guys build better. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night, whether you're listening to this while you're doing your power workout or you're just driving to work or you're in between calls. Just thank you for your time, guys. And if you need anything, definitely reach out. But you guys do what you have to do and be safe.
You've been listening to the LEO First Podcast. Michael has been in law enforcement since 2005. He's worked for 3 law enforcement agencies in 3 different states. He's a professional speaker who travels the country teaching about leadership development and self-awareness. And he's the author of a book called Greatness Beyond the Badge, The 3 Key Principles for Self-Awareness. It's Michael's passion to bring law enforcement members' stories to the front, so you get the real and raw take. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with Michael on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Michael Laidler. On Twitter at Michael A. Laidler. On Facebook at Michael Laidler Leadership. Send an email to michael@michaelalaidler.com and hit the website at michaelalaidler.com. See you next time on the LEO First Podcast.
Like that, I'm going to be leaving a note on a vehicle advising him to remove it.